The Kia Sonet has been the benchmark in the compact SUV segment, and not without a reason. It looks great, it's got stylish interiors, has a bucket load of first in segment features and some very nice powertrain options to choose from. But before the Sonet and the others reigned dominance in this segment, it was Ford that actually kickstarted the compact SUV segment with this, the EcoSport. Now this is the latest version of the EcoSport, the SE. Now this is a more affordable variant as compared to the top of the line fully loaded S variant. Now the question is, does the Ford EcoSport still make for a viable option in this hotly contested compact SUV segment? And can it stand up to the segment leader, the Kia Sonet? Let's find out. Over the years, the EcoSport has just received subtle updates, but the basic design has remained the same. Compared to the S, the SE gets chrome on the large trapezoidal grille, also a slightly different alloy wheel design. Now the biggest design change with the Ford EcoSport SE is at the rear. Now the EcoSport SE takes design cues from its American and European peers, where it's sold minus the rear mounted spare wheel. So as you can see, no rear spare wheel here. Design changes include this 4 bash plate at the bottom, and earlier you had the number plate positioned right here, and it's been moved to the center. You also get this chrome strip that has been added. Now the rear tailgate mounted spare wheel was a signature design feature for the Ford EcoSport, and when you look at it now, it just feels like there is something amiss. I think we prefer the Ford EcoSport with the rear mounted spare wheel. What do you all think? Does the car look better with or without the spare wheel? Do let us know in the comments below. Overall, the Ford EcoSport has aged well. That's because it was already a very radical design to begin with. But now when you compare it to its peers like the Kia Sonet, it does look a little long in the tooth. Now let us know in the comments, which do you think looks better, the Ford EcoSport or the Kia Sonet? With the last update, Ford had heavily revised the interiors to make it more upmarket. Starting with the cabin, the SE gets a off-whitish theme and fabric seats as compared to the leather seats on the S. The dashboard layout still looks good, and the 8-inch screen, despite the competition offering larger screens, still feels adequate. What also helps is that the user interface is crisp and the operation is pretty smooth. While overall quality is acceptable, certain bits suffer from quality issues. What also shows the EcoSport's age is the instrument console, which really looks dated now. Even the aircon controls feel like they're from a car which is a generation older. Cabin storage wise, it's pretty practical and you have plenty of storage places all around. Now the driver's seats are pretty comfortable and they hold you in place very well, and you've got good support all around for those long drives. However, outward visibility is something that's not very good, and it was never the EcoSport's forte, and it's something that won't be appreciated by new drivers. Now moving to the back bench, the light theme makes it feel more airier than the all-black cabin of the S variant. So you've got plenty of knee room here thanks to the scooped out front seats. There's plenty of headroom as well. However, what's not so great is the shoulder room, and that's thanks to the very narrow cabin. Boot space is more than the Hyundai Venue and the Tata Nexon at 352 litres, but lesser than the Kia Sonet. What helps is that it's got a wide opening and a fairly low loading lip. First up, in place of the missing spare wheel, the SE variant gets a puncture kit that will enable the owners to repair tire damage within minutes without removing the tire from its slot. What will also help with the peace of mind is the tire pressure monitoring system feature that is also available. That apart, you get keyless entry, LED DRLs, 8-inch infotainment system with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and the Ford Pass integration, a one-stop smartphone app. With a factory-fitted cloud-connected device, EcoSport owners can perform several vehicle operations like starting, stopping, locking or unlocking remotely via the Ford Pass app. You also get sunroof, cruise control and auto HID headlights and wipers. Compared to the S variant, apart from the spare wheel, the SE misses out on ISOFIX anchors, leatherette seat covers and puddle lamps. On the safety front, you get 6 airbags, traction control, hill start assist, tire pressure monitoring system and ABS with EBD. Now talking about the engine options remain the same. So you get a 1.5 litre petrol and a 1.5 litre diesel to choose from. What we're driving here is the 1.5 litre 3-cylinder petrol engine with a 5-speed manual gearbox. Now while most of its competition have gone the forced induced way, including the Sonet, this Dragon petrol engine is still naturally aspirated, and yet it pushes out 123 bhp and 150 newton meters of torque, which is frankly right up there with the competition. What is immediately apparent is how refined the engine is thanks to the balancer shaft ironing out the inherent 3-cylinder vibes. The gear shift could be a little better, but the light clutch makes up for it and the EcoSport is easy to drive around in town. It picks up well from low revs and being naturally aspirated, it has a very linear power delivery. However, thanks to the EcoSport weighing a portly 1200 odd kilos and the lack of a turbocharger means it does not have the punch of its forced induced competition, and driving enthusiastically will not be as rewarding as driving the Sonet. Now talking about the ride and handling, this is one place where the Ford EcoSport has always managed to stand tall, offering a very fine balance between ride and handling. Ride quality feels supple and the EcoSport takes sharp-edged potholes better than the Sonet and a few others. The suspension is a little noisy over bumps, but it remains relatively composed. Also, there is a hint of firmness to the way this thing rides over bad roads. But the upshot is that you get a car that holds its line brilliantly through the corners and remains composed even at high speeds. Similarly, the steering feels just as direct and quick at initial turn-in despite being worked on for a softer bite. You will encounter more body roll compared to the Sonet. However, you can safely lean on it and be assured that the car will hold its line seamlessly. Now let's get the numbers out of the way first. The EcoSport SE is about 50,000 rupees cheaper than the fully loaded S manual variant, and it doesn't miss out on too many features either. Now talking about the rear mounted spare wheel, it really made the EcoSport stand out and gave it that SUV character even though it's an old design. And without it, the EcoSport's dated design comes forth even more. Now coming to the important question, does this make a worthy alternative to the segment champion, the Kia Sonet? Unfortunately, no. To do that, it needs a thorough revision of the exteriors, better cabin styling and not to mention better packaging of space as well. So why would you consider the new Ford EcoSport? For starters, it's loaded to the gills with features and safety equipment. Then there's the engine. Now it might not be as peppy as some of its forced-induced rivals, but nevertheless it's still a very refined engine and more than capable for everyday driving duties. Then of course you have the ride and handling package, which is better than not only the Sonet but also quite a few others in the segment. The Ford EcoSport SE is priced at 10.49 lakhs ex-showroom Mumbai, which still makes it very good value. So if you're on a budget and don't mind the certain dated qualities of the Ford EcoSport, there's no reason why you shouldn't consider one.